From the Fatheads Eyewear Studio in Indianapolis, Indiana, this is The Skinny.
Maybe I need to start in the trash truck business.
Don't rule it out.
But the steering is spokes on the wheel straight ahead. The steering's broken. Bridges takes the wheel and he goes, whoa, whoa.
He's airborne, and then I'm above him.
Inverted.
All at the same time. Yeah, you're just like, wow, that's a wild picture.
He gets behind the race car and he tells me if I'm good or not, and if I'm good, he'll go, perfect.
I hang up on the guy. I go, who's this? This is Deion Sanders. I go, yeah, nice try. See you later.
Bounce and then this insane roll. That thing sent it.
I hate qualifying. It's the worst. It's literally the worst thing you could ever do.
But I'm smooth and creamy like milk chocolate. Have you ever not saw a Hershey bar that did not look good?
Hi, I'm Tony Stewart.
I'm Mario Andretti.
I'm Johnny Rutherford.
I'm Angel Sampe.
I'm Travis Pastrana.
This is Antron Brown.
Hi, I'm Tripp Tatum, and this is The Skinny.
Welcome to Indianapolis, Indiana. You are watching The Skinny. I'm Ken Stout. Rico Elmore sitting right alongside. We have Tripp Tatum, driver of the top fuel car here, that's joined us in the studio. And as always, the track dude back there doing his best to run the controls, keep us in focus, keep us herded up.
Our best.
Sitting in our seats.
Again, the best. Doing your best.
Michael Young.
Best.
He gives us his best.
Best.
Good
Welcome,
job.
Michael.
Good job, sport.
Yes.
Nice job, dude.
Thanks.
We're off to a good
Best.
start.
Here we go. It's going to be a great show.
The guy sitting beside us on the set with us here is Tripp Tatum, and Tripp Tatum went to the Gator Nationals here a couple of years ago and turned the entire NHRA world upside down as he qualified that thing on the pole and grabbed his first career win. What a day.
Yes, it was. Looking back, I haven't really thought about this in a while, but it rained most of that race. And
It was a monsoon.
oh, yeah, there was, remember Alex Laughlin had that little boat out there and little gator got it and spit it back out. Oh, yeah, the water was pretty deep.
You had to do something to entertain
Yeah.
yourself, literally.
Yeah, but we were kind of, just doing what you do when it's raining, not much. And before you knew it, we thought we were going to have 2 laps. And our car had been running really well before that. We tested really well. We went out west to test at Phoenix, had some really good shut-off laps. And then we did not go run Pomona, came back and ran Phoenix there. And I think we qualified 4th or 5th, run pretty good in the 60s. And then, one of those snafu things, somebody hit the chute pack and the thing left in the first round and one chute came out, smoked the tires. So it was kind of a bummer. But so we had ended up going, next race was Gainesville. So the thing had been running very well and it just picked up right there. The air was really good. It was very cool. And I remember that Q1, I got out. I knew it'd run good, but I didn't know how good it'd run. And I think it won a 67.2, and I'm like, well, that's pretty stout. But I kept thinking, well, there's going to be one more lap, and there's obviously some really good cars that are capable of running that well. And they called it. I didn't even know they called it. I sit there, called TJ, my buddy Tommy Johnson Jr., and he goes, yeah, you're number one. And I'm like, huh? Yeah, like, huh? So that was, but I guess the thing is I just didn't know what was happening. It just was there. And it was, then qualifying's over. Next morning, you get up, they delayed us an hour because it was cold again. And, for me, when I do the fuel in my car and, do the shoots, I have to keep busy. If I sit there and think about everything, probably not such a good thing. And before you know it, it's like we won first round and barely beat Billy. I mean, that was our luck round because only by a foul. And
oh wow,
yeah, Stu slowed it down. You kind of have to between first and second round usually. Second
and that's
round
a pseudo teammate at the time, right?
Well, no, when I say Stu, it's John Stewart, my crew chief.
I meant Billy.
Billy
Billy was a pseudo teammate.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't call it teammate, but that whole organization over there helped me put my stuff together. So and they did. They still do help a lot and great people. But yeah, that was Steve and Billy are tough. to deal with on that racetrack, especially Steve. And going up there in the second round against Billy, you know, I had a ton of confidence, but at the same time, I'm like, I know how good they can run. So getting by them by 1,000 that was definitely our lucky round of the day. You know, it's so.
Who else did you have that day?
I had Lex first round, Billy second round. I believe it was it Salinas in the third?
Yes.
Yeah, Salinas in the third
It was
round.
Salinas.
And I believe they smoked the tires. And then the final, you know, the final was almost really bad. One was almost really, really bad because, you know, and this is being new driving. I mean, I've driven for a while, but it's, you know, you're not driving as much. And I've kind of screwed up and did not realize how bad the sun was going to be at that time of day. And the pre-stage and the stage bulb were almost completely washed out from behind looking at it. Not the sun coming at me, but so I went up there and did my normal deal. I actually flickered the bulb once. Well, I didn't know it was flickered on or off. And I'm sitting there staring at it, and the next thing I know,
green light.
Yep. Well, amber. Yeah, I was 190 something.
Oh.
Well, I mean, you know, I was lucky in a number. I mean, I think he was 120. It wasn't the best on his side either.
Yeah,
but
he's totally struggling with the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely better in the right lane than the left. But yeah, and I mean, thank God the car was running so good, and you know, I said I had to look at a lot of Brooks going down there because that was Brooks' tuned car at that point in time.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, but that was almost really bad. Boy, I would never have heard the end of that one if that had happened the other way. Never heard the end of that one.
We're going to take a quick break here, off and running, one race complete, and he won it once again here. So stay with us. We'll be right back on the Skinny.
That's probably a top 10 half track speed ever. And I'm like, ooh. Then when it went 290, 291, I'm like, it felt like a pig out there. You know, I mean,
The Skinny is brought to you by Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. And American Coach. Innovation is our life force.
You are looking at Tripp Tatum. Great to have him in the studio with us. He's been 367, 331 miles per hour in a top fuel car. We were just talking about your great run there at the Gators a couple of years ago. And as you said, one qualifying pass, qualified it on the pole. Pretty spectacular effort there. And then working your way through some really tough competition throughout what turned out to be a very tricky weekend as well, based on weather, is pretty amazing. And if we go back even a step further, you had only been in 11 previous events in a fuel car coming into that one. So it wasn't like you had a whole bunch of seat time. I should say in those 11 events, I think you had 5 round wins along the way. So you weren't brand new, but man, you weren't far from brand new.
yeah, you know, I drove an A fuel car for a couple of years, got good experience there. And then, you know, Bobby and Dom gave me the chance to drive the Nitro Ninja. And that was an unbelievable experience because, you know, the car went down every time. And it gave me the ability to learn, you know, the right way that I think. And, you know, that was invaluable for me.
I'd love to know how the relationship between you and the Laganos got going. You're from Maryland, around Budds Creek. They're Northeast guys as well. Did you guys meet early on? How did that happen?
You know, I had never met them personally. I'd seen the ramp truck once when I was younger, going to I think it was
The legendary
Maple
ramp
Grove.
truck.
The ramp
Yeah,
truck.
which was wild to say the least. You know, but meeting them was just driving the alcohol car, the A fuel car, and then having an interest, and a couple feelers went out, and it just kind of went from there. You know, Bobby, as I was, helped me put my whole race car operation together, and it's taught me a lot along the way but letting me do it on my own, because you got to learn on your own too. They steer you in a good direction and see how you do, and it's not easy.
Whose A fuel stuff did you drive?
Anthony DeCiro's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. And you guys ran a couple years. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I got my license in his car, and then about that year we ran a couple divisionals, and then started running some more national events, and it was a great time because procedurally these things are very, very similar, and just a lot. And it's to me, it's the right way to do it is just to get some intermediary laps, in a slower car and slowly give yourself a good chance.
Yeah.
Well, at least you're in an easy division up there in Division One. I mean, there's hardly any hitters.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we didn't hardly run in Division One because I came out and ran a lot of Division Three, but then, you know, the second year we just ran a lot of national events. I just wanted to go on the national events and
it really helps, doesn't it? I mean, that
Oh, yeah.
atmosphere to be involved with that pressure cooker and the people in the stands.
Yeah, and I mean, we all have that goal. I don't think there's one person that's ever sat in an alcohol car that said, "Man, I wouldn't someday love to run a top fuel car or be in some kind of nitro car." And for me, I've always wanted to drive a dragster or top fuel car, and so it was just a natural progression.
Coming out of the A fuel car into the fuel car, how was that transition?
It was hard and it was easy. Like driving the car wasn't that hard because Laganas are smart. They made sure that I got laps in the 390s, 4.0s, give my brain a chance to slow down. And some people will take to it and run. I think I took to it pretty well, but as soon as you start to think you're getting comfortable in one of those things, it's going to remind you very quickly that you shouldn't be as comfortable. And and going from a 390 to 385 to 380 flat, and then and the upper 70s, that's levels of violence and how hard this thing is, and what it'll do to you. And it's like, and I love the fact that the Ninja had a 5-disc in it. And at the time, I don't know much about it, but the 5-disc is a little harder to drive just because the thing welds and it kind of kerplunks out in the middle. And the car was harder to drive from half track on than it ever was from the starting line to half track.
Mm.
So it just a lot of valuable lessons along the way. And they definitely steered me in the right direction.
It's great info. Of all the drivers we've had on here, I don't think we've ever had one say the difference between a 390 and a 370 is massive. But based on what you just said, I mean, that's a lot. And we've also had a lot of veterans on here, and I wonder if they just kind of take it for granted now and they don't realize that big speed difference. But I've often wondered, I mean, as we look at it from out here, okay, it's a couple tenths of a second. Doesn't seem like it's that much more, but being inside, it's huge, huh?
Yeah, and you get spoiled. I mean, looking back, and now to where now I've been almost 298. No, excuse me, I went almost 297. I went 296, 96 to half track. And at the time, Bobby was telling me, he goes, "You realize that's probably a top 10 half track speed ever." And I'm like, "Ooh." Then when it went 290, 291, I'm like, it felt like a pig out there. I mean, what do you do? It's like, all it's your ass is it's your seat of the pants. Yeah, that's where everything you feel is there. I mean, laterally but those things, they just move so hard through the middle. And, Stewie, one of the runs where we had probably is going to run a mid to low 66 and testing it, he's like, it's not at half track. It's about 350 to 400 foot. He goes, "Look at the G meter." And it was 6.43 Gs. I mean, and that's hauling ass.
Slugging.
Yeah. I mean, that's really, man, that's putting you back in the seat hard. Like you could barely walk in between anything. And my job as a kid was to air all those damn tires up.
Welcome back to the Skinny, ladies and gentlemen. We're here in the Fatheads Eyewear studio. We have Tripp Tatum on the show with us here, competitor in the NHRA ranks, both top alcohol dragster and an A fuel car, and of course top fuel, which we've been documenting. But we need to go back, as we always do here on this show, and find out how it all began. So you were raised in Maryland, if I'm not mistaken, and raised around racing. Talk to us about how you first got the bug, your first look and love at racing and race cars. How'd that all go down?
Well, my dad did a lot of drag racing, but his main forte, he did a lot of road racing, but he loved
really?
Ferraris.
Okay.
And I grew up around a lot of Ferraris, a lot of vintage race cars and street cars in a room that honestly, there's been few of these rooms. I mean, literally in the history of the world, some of my dad's cars, his customers' cars. I mean, just really neat stuff. The Ferraris themselves, like my dad owned for 3 Ferrari GTOs throughout his career. If you follow Ferraris at all, that's the most sought after Ferrari. They've gone for an obscene amount of money. It all turned into art money. But I grew up around that. He had 3 top fuel cars in the corner of the shop, and everything in the back there was like you could barely walk in between anything. And my job as a kid was to air all those damn tires up. And when everybody was out playing in the evenings, I had work to do in the shop or at home. But yeah, I grew up around that.
You say customer cars. What did he do? What did he do for like a customer and stuff?
Well,
like that?
I mean, my dad was really good with Webers. I mean, the whole platform, but he just worked on, he restored them, but his knowledge base was very extensive. I mean, he had his first Ferrari when he was 13 years old, but that was back in the time where that would be like you and I buying a Mustang.
Camaro.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he got into model airplane engines. So he just loved mechanical things, especially. And, actually, yes, that's probably where his love for nitromethane came from, all the model airplane engines. Yeah. But so, yeah, he did a lot of that. And when I was young, a guy named Gary Bergen that had a nitro fuel funny car from the West Coast would come and stay at our shop. And that's really where I got the bug for drag racing. And those guys, they were, and I was just knee high, and it was neat. I mean, that car, they didn't have many national events then. They just did a lot of match racing. So that thing every year would come, and it was a neat deal for me.
Where would they run? Where would they match race out by year?
All over the place. But I mean, I guess locally, I watched that car run at Capitol. I watched it run at York before it was closed. I actually got to see the real rocket powered funny car run there when I was a little kid. Got to see that crazy guy behind an alcohol funny car with titanium skid plates, that would go down, and the spark show. Wow. All kinds of neat stuff. But yeah, locally, and like I said, there was not too many national events at that point in time. And yeah, it was just a neat deal. That's where I got definitely.
Yeah, I'd read that your father had a fuel funny car sitting in the shop that you kind of grew up around.
Dragster.
It was a dragster.
Yes.
Okay.
He had 3 of them. Didn't run them much. One of them he did run a decent amount. I think was a Division I champion in 67 or 68, and ran at, I guess it was Tulsa. The World Finals is different back then. I might not be getting this all right, but and that car was the surfers from California. They built a second car that my dad acquired, and he ran that car quite a bit. Beautiful car.
Front engine car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. My dad, had a bunch of financial issues and troubles and things throughout life, and those cars got away from him. And I actually got the one car that I liked the most, which was a late model front engine car that beautiful. And it's sitting in my shop now, and it's one of these days, even though it's pretty much brand new, I want to restore it completely the way it was, and then turn it into a capital car. Maybe drive it 200 or 300 feet just to get some good pictures. But
You're not looking to go to the other end at speed?
I don't know. Boy, when you sit in that thing, I don't know how those guys did that. I mean, that's why there's a lot of them that didn't make it through all that. But they were, you literally, your legs go over the rear end housing, and you sit behind and below the rear end housing. And it's just, and that thing is sitting right in front of you. That takes a lot.
I think this thing that you set over and what's sitting right in front of is not not as comforting a feeling.
What you don't know, you don't know. When you don't know any better, you drive what you have, and they probably were as felt like they were as safe as they could be because those were way safer than what they started off with. So but when you look inside of one of those cars, it's like, yeah, I don't know about any of that.
Yeah.
We know what happens with those parts now.
Yeah, I think the term ignorance is bliss replied on that one, boy. I mean, just, they catch on fire or a little oil down. I mean, it's all over you.
Yeah.
But neat stuff.
Neat stuff. Okay, we'll take a quick break on that one. We'll be right back. How many people say you look like Bernstein?
Well, even worse than that, and I've been nicknamed this, is Vladimir Putin.
Oh! Welcome back to the Fatheads Eyewear Studio. We have Tripp Tatum on the show with us here today. Learn about him and his career, how he got going, and as always, there's a treasure trove of surprises I would have never expected to hear about the Ferraris, the GTOs. That's pretty awesome stuff. And I can't help but sit here and think, man, how were you not intrigued to go run one of those cars at a road course? But
well, I was too young. But I was around them a lot. I mean, I actually got to drive a GTO once. My dad let me drive it down the driveway from our shop around the circle, and that was pretty neat. But yeah, I mean, I think there was 33 of them made. 3 of them were kind of street cars. The rest of them were road race type. And it's a door car. It's not like an open wheel car, but they're beautiful.
Just to clarify for our fans, we're not talking about a Pontiac GTO either.
No.
So,
Yeah,
it's a way different deal.
Yeah, and he had a bunch of other cars, and some of the prototype, or like he had a 512M. He had what they call the 712M, which was the only Can-Am car of that size motor. I only made 2 motors, and that was a really neat car. Didn't handle worth anything, but was extremely fast in a straight line.
How big a shop did he have?
It's actually pretty small. It's probably only 4,000 feet or so.
Had it stacked in there.
Yeah, in the back of it. I wish I still had a lot of the pictures. A lot of that stuff got lost, but some really neat memories there of his cars and mostly customers' cars. But
yeah, we're going to be asking for some pictures, so see what you can find, because
I do have some stuff.
Ryan will add that in there, because it's people. I don't think people understand what people go through to get to it, and it's like what he was talking about. At the break, here he was. He had the opportunity to go to Frank Holly's school. They're going to put together another fuel team. He's going to be the guy doing it. And the next thing you know, the stock market goes upside down, and a lot of people lost a lot of money. Had the opportunity to do it. It's pulled right out from under him, but he kept going and figured out a way to do it much later down the road, I guess.
Yeah. It took a long time, and I still am hanging on to the belief that, I think I've built a really nice operation with a lot of help from a lot of, very talented people. Nice and clean. It runs well. And I think it presents well. And I'm going to hold on to the fact that that's eventually going to pay off.
It's got a nice truck and trailer.
It was Bernstein's last truck and trailer.
Dude,
absolutely.
You brought it up. So I've been sitting here the entire show. How many people say you look like Bernstein?
Well, even worse than that, and I've been nicknamed this, is Vladimir Putin.
Oh!
I get that all the time. Yeah, Tony Samsel.
If you had his money, you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah. You want.
Everybody keeps telling me to get DNA tests. You never know. But yeah,
man,
Tony
that's
Samsel,
funny.
the A-Fuel guys, is the one that nicknamed it that. And it's, if you got to have thick skin, everybody likes to make fun.
Oh, yeah.
His operation is the cleanest, most meticulous. I mean, listen, John Force's operation is clean, meticulous, but it's big. So there's always room for a little something that may have a little crud on it.
I try.
Not if. Like the pallet racking at his place. I mean, had it all powder coated white. I mean, it is a beautiful shop. And the truck and trailer, he couldn't have bought a better truck and trailer, because the way the Bernsteins took care of their stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's brand new when he got it, So, uh, and I think that I think the health of the NHRA right now is getting pretty damn good. I think it's really getting good. I mean, I think the TV ratings are good. I still don't exactly agree with some of the things they do, which I'm not running it, so I have that right. But the other side of it is they've done a lot of the right stuff I think, to get it better and to make it where it is an opportunity for a privateer to come in, that has bought all the right stuff and put all the right stuff out there ready to go. So I hope to God you get one, because I think you would be an absolute terror out there on the tour.
I always, I try to, you always be humble, because, man, you're just when you think you're doing good and you've got this licked, it'll remind you quickly you don't. Uh, but yeah, I want to do it so bad I can't stand it. One of my best friends is Tommy Johnson Jr., and he did that for many years. Still quite capable of doing it at a very high level. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to have a chance to run for a championship and run.
I loved your approach at the Gators, by the way. The fact that there was nothing on the car. I love that approach. I mean, a lot of times people put it on there just to try and get other people to come in thinking they're associated with that. But I love just the blank canvas, and it screams there's plenty of room for advertising right here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I the whole gold lettering that we did, it kind of started, I saw it on the wing of Torrance's car, and I put somebody's name on the car that they're a local bar. We know the guy, Whiskey Bent, and it's gold. So, let me do that. Man, I'm like, man, that looks good. So then, we did it on, started changing everything, and it's kind of added on there. It's nice. It's different, but it looks good. I mean, my truck and trailer's blue and gray. It's totally different, but I'm like, just kind of stuck with it. And
I mean, those deals come together a lot of times at the track last minute. And track dude, Michael, you can attest to this. Alexander Rossi's Napa deal, when he won the 500, it happened, I mean, literally just days before. So talk about a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a good problem to have to worry about wrapping my trailer in my car.
Yeah.
It would be a good problem.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
It was pretty neat that 47 years later, I raced my first U.S. Nationals on a top fuel car, which was in Bobby Dom's car, and it was pretty neat. I'll never forget it. And
The Skinny is brought to you by American Coach. American Coach. Innovation is our life force. And Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear. Hardcore since '04.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the racing capital of the world. We're in Indianapolis, Indiana. You're watching The Skinny. We have Tripp Tatum on the set with us here today, learning about how he made his way up through the ranks and eventually in the top fuel, where he does have one of those precious Wallies. While we were at break, you were talking about maybe it was your first race ever in 1969. You were still inside of your mother.
Yeah. I went there. My mom was, I guess it's about 2 months, before I was born. I was born in November, and it was pretty neat that 47 years later, I raced my first U.S. Nationals on top fuel car, which was in Bobby Dom's car, and it was pretty neat. I'll never forget it. And you look back at that, and it's pretty wild. And there's been a lot of, a lot of people come family background that have been a huge influence on what they do, and, kind of molds the future of where they kind of end up.
So your first trip down the drag strip, when was that? What was it in?
It was at 75 and 80 Dragway, which was just north of where our shop was in Gaithersburg, Maryland. It was in a 1987 Ford Mustang that my dad got me for graduating high school. It didn't, I think it might have gone 500 miles on the street, and then that natural regression took over. I mean, it's a race car. We can't do this. We got to do this. And we got caught up in, trying to be the, first Mustang with a stock motor to go run in the 12s, which at the day, but I was pretty neat, in street cars. And shoot, a 14-second car was pretty fast back then. Nowadays, that's, things have gotten a lot faster.
So what year was the Mustang?
1987.
87.
Brand new white Mustang, LX.
And then I heard Rico or you mentioned before. So how long after that did you go to Frank Holly School?
It was, I think it was in 89, 88, 89 area. My dad and I went down there and drove the gas cars. And at that time he had the little Garlett's closed front end on it and the canopy, which was wild. I did really good in the class until they had a fogger nitro system on it. So it would go, I believe it'd go like 720s or 30s, but about 860s or 70s on the motor. Boy, the first time I let go of the button on that was my first instance of, and I got behind it. So I let it get out a little bit and then hit the throttle again. And that was a big no-no, especially in Frank's eyes. So I got a talking to on that. But yeah, it was neat. I mean, I had never been faster than probably 1380, 1390 at that point, and then went, in the 8s, and then.
That's a big step.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be like a rocket ship at that point.
Oh.
It could have been worse. You could have been at Roy Hill School. He would have really dug into you.
Yeah, I've heard stories about that. Now, Frank, look, Frank is, to me, he's the best at what he does, and he has a way of making you understand things at the level that you think at. He just has to be able to, he can look at you and kind of read you and see how it's going to make you understand this better.
We've heard that from everybody that's been at his school.
Yeah.
And people that work with him. I mean, there's a guy we'd love to have him on as well, Frank.
Yeah.
Unbelievable teacher.
US Nationals, we could do that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable teacher.
Sorry, dude. I got to work for a living too.
Well, got it.
Yeah. The Frank Holly thing is so important to so many people's careers.
Yeah, Beckman was talking about working with him.
Beckman worked there, right? So
yeah.
He was one of them that said he learned so much from him.
I got my alcohol dragster license through Frank like a year and a half later from that. At the time, I believe my dad and I got it. The only other person that had gotten it was Don Gay Jr. That's how long ago that was in like 89, I believe, or 90, and that was wild. I mean, to go 660s at 200. Frank would always make you shut it off the mile per hour light because you got to be easy on the equipment. But, and that was at quarter mile back then. The hook was set there. Fully set. Swapping feet. I mean, that's neat when you get to rev one up and let go of the clutch. That's still my favorite. Good friend of mine, Gary Pritchett, I go along with him when they run the family alcohol funny car, and him and Aaron Cave, and we have a blast going to do that. It's neat because it kind of brings you back because it's all the showmanship and it's match racing, but we still get serious with it.
Yeah.
They broke the track record at Summer Duck, which, I mean, this is just a little narrow little racetrack, really nice, and you barely can go down there with two cars. I mean, certainly not through the finish line because then it goes uphill a little bit and then you go down a hill to the left and it's nuts. And but yeah, he
it's
went
like they borrow on a country road. They're like,
yeah, yeah, he went 397 there, which was,
oh my goodness.
I think Bunny had held that record many years ago with like a 4.00 high 4.0. I mean,
yeah,
like I don't even know if I'd want to go that fast there. I mean, that's one of the ones I'm like, Gary, you got to put them chutes out way early. You might not stop. Yeah, just needs fun.
Just take a hard left-hander down there.
Yeah. Just put a little stagger in the car in case we got to make that left-hander over the hill.
Oh yeah, yeah. He can tell stories about shutting down, going down through there with Bunny, and there's really no room. And it's
I forgot about that. Bunny ran up there everywhere.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
that's the car he runs.
Yeah, it's
That's
still
the
the
car
same,
Gary
the same
his
car.
buddies-
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they
Okay.
do the burnout with the big American flag way up in the air.
Oh, yeah.
It's
She put on a show.
oh yeah, very interesting group of people. A lot of fun to hang out with. and-
Wild.
yes.
Wild. Nothing. And when Bear was alive, Gary's dad, Uncle Ivy, all the characters that
Son.
went on the road.
Son. Yeah.
That's what he called.
Oh yeah.
Bear would get in trouble with Gary all the time. He says, "All I can do is tell you I'm sorry, son." And it never worked out. Gary's like, "I've heard this all my life. I'm not listening to it."
Once again, we'll be back with more here from Mr. Tripp Tatum.
That like to do that. Like, man, they want to whoop my ass enough as it is. Don't give them anything more. You know.
You're looking at Mr. Tripp Tatum of Tripp Tatum Racing. He's here in Brownsburg, just outside of Indianapolis, Indiana, where the racing operation is. And I believe it was 2021 you decided to go all in. That's when you started your own team. You'd been driving previously for other folks, but decided you'd get the parts and pieces and make a run at it. And I kind of liked your methodical approach, which is, as you mentioned before, to buy a couple of teams out or start piecing things together. I immediately, the way my brain worked was you had to have a timeline at that point to know when you wanted to field that car, because if you wait too long, those parts and pieces are out of date. It doesn't take long in this world.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, when we were starting to do my dad's deal way back when, that's kind of what happened. Is we hung on to stuff way too long, trying to, you know, really wanted to do it, and then before you know it, things were out of date, and it just wouldn't be competitive anymore. But when I started that in 21, buying the used parts and pieces, and then, you know, things took a little turn, and then Bobby and Dom got involved in helping, and it's been a long, long path. It really has. When I sit back and I think about it, it's like, how did this all get done? Because it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It truly is overwhelming. When I can walk into my shop today and go and just stare or look around, and it's like a lot of man hours just to get to where we are now, and there's a lot more to do. And it's you know, I got one really good guy that works with me, Donnie Mender, that has been around forever, and he's a wealth of knowledge and can do anything on the car. And it's basically just he and I at the shop. Tony Shortle helps. I got, you know, a bunch of people that come in at times, but since, you know, if I could find the backing, the sponsorship to do this more, then I'd have more people. But right now, since we kind of, you know, run so far apart, we can kind of operate that way.
Yeah, you had mentioned some names. I mean, so you're surrounded by absolutely some of the best. And Aaron Brooks, I know, has worked with you. You just mentioned Tony Shortle.
Oh yeah.
Stewie. You know, I mean, some really contenders in the class.
Yeah, Stewie has been there every time I've been in a fuel car, and so that's like a comfort area for me. And you know, he's the best. I mean, Stu, just the way he loves to have a good time, but he's also serious, and he hates. Boy, does he hate when we hurt something. So it's, you know, I told him a long time ago. It's like, hey, you know, I understand to run this car hard. We're gonna blow some stuff up. We're gonna make mistakes, you know. So, and that's the kind of the mentality that we've had, is like we go out and run this car as hard as we can. You know, what we think we can get away with, we do.
But that's the funniest part, as Bob Lagana would say. How many things did you hurt on your way to winning your first Wally that weekend?
Nothing. Knock on, we still. I mean, this is asinine to say. Still haven't thrown the rods out of it. We fuzzed some head gaskets and did some stuff there, you know, and we're tightening sequences, things, you know. But other than that, you know, we've had a couple close ones. We had a couple close things, but still real lucky. Very, very fortunate. It's going to happen. It's like I've never lost on a hole shot yet, but it's going to happen. You know, it just hadn't aligned that way yet.
Right.
You know,
But it was great. I mean, Bob just wears him out about it, because if he's like, you know, what he is, this coming from the guy who didn't hurt one thing that, you know.
Yeah,
So
well, but most of that's because of them.
Yeah.
And it's it's their know-how and their experiences giving me an unbelievable advantage in the beginning. My whole goal was to, don't talk, don't run your mouth, like just let that thing do that's talking for you. Other drivers, other situations that like to do that. Man, they want to whoop my ass enough as it is. Don't give them anything more. It's like, and it's like, so I try to just let them, or let the car and operation, do it. It's, present itself. And we qualified number 5 at the U.S. Nationals. We don't have data quite the way the track's being prepped these days, and don't have that much data period overall. And, we lost first round, but, it's,
That's a big statement.
Qualifying that high up, that's huge.
That's a big statement. We've got to take a quick break here, but I wanted to point out to you that I also walk in my shop and look around and think, how did one man create all this?
I could take you out here and show you the same
It
thing.
looks quite a bit different than his shop, though. It's like, how can one man cause this kind of chaos in one shop? All right, we'll be right back.
Want to get the skinny on other guests in different types of motorsports? Check out our YouTube page and get the skinny. The Skinny is brought to you by Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. And American Coach, innovation is our life force.
Welcome back to the Skinny. Tripp Tatum has been a wonderful guest here in the studio. Great to have him with us and learn about his path, his career to get to where he's at. And as we stand here at the end of 2024, he's got to be staring 2025 square in the eyes. What's the plans, man?
We're just busy in service mode. I got a front half of my car. Got some air conditioners to buy for my trailer. Just the normal deal. We're just getting ready, and then see if I can't put together some help, and hopefully things will get better in the economy that I can, run this thing some more.
So, do you actively work on proposals to send out to potential sponsors?
Yeah. I do have a deck that was done, and I've got a guy that is doing a little bit of work for me. That's kind of a tough situation, finding money out there. So I'm always looking for new avenues, new ideas, new potential maybes and ifs.
Is there, along with that, that's kind of old school, if you will. That's our way of searching for them. You also now have to incorporate in social media. Is there a person that takes care of that for you?
Yes. I do have a great company, Innovative Creative Specialties. That's Steve Torrance's wife.
Okay.
And then Cassandra Pollock, who her dad just won the factory stock world championship, was really cool.
Was that his first one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Cass
Mark's
that always comes in.
Mark's a badass driver.
Absolutely.
He's been around he ran pro stock cars back when I was young.
Right. That was Lori Fraser's first ever customer.
Really?
Yeah, with Motorsports Travel.
Yeah.
Does all of the bookings and everything for all of us, for all the rooms and stuff.
Yeah.
That's great that you have a resource. It's great because a team like you don't have the funding for an employee that's dedicated to that. So to have somebody like her that understands it, that you can share with another team, so beneficial.
Yeah. No, they're great. I mean, when I started Cassandra, I think I had 1,000 followers, and she's had me up as many as 18,000. I mean, it's neat. It's neat. You get a lot of interaction, and when we get closer to when we're gonna run the car, it's an avenue to let people know what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Well, congratulations, man. I think you've done a fabulous job. It's an incredibly difficult, extremely expensive business.
Oh yeah.
To go out and try to make a way in. And the fact that you do it at such a limited plan, but the fact that you've been as successful as you've been, to go out and win the Gators, I don't care who you are, dude. That doesn't happen by chance. You don't go out and win 4 of those rounds, because you got lucky all 4 rounds. You came in really, really prepared. You worked really, really hard, and you earned it, man. At the end of the day.
The guys that have helped me, it's all them. It really is. It's like I've had good examples. If you keep your mouth shut and you keep your ears open, your eyes open, and just pay attention, you can learn a lot.
I think you've done a great job. I think it's more than just them. I think they had to have somebody corral it all up to get it going. So we applaud you, man. Best of luck going forward. Thanks for taking the time to come in here. We love learning about people like you, and how they've made it up into the big
Privateers,
leagues.
if you will.
Privateers in the big leagues.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's hopefully one day I'll be able to do it full time.
That's the goal. Sponsors? That's a good one. He's doing it right.
I need help.
A lot of room on that car to fly those colors.
Yep.
Tripp Tatum, you know the skinny on him now.